Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us on Insights Across the Disciplines podcast. Today I have some very interesting, youthful and ambitious young people, and they are some of my favorites, in fact, that I have encountered in the last few years. And we are going to talk about their time as students studying journalism and what their experiences have been like. So I am here with, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hello everyone, my name is Emmy Klemlotana. I am a second year journalism student.
Hello everyone, this is Musa Zondo speaking. I am a final year student in the Department of Journalism.
Hello everyone, I am Amahle Noluthando Hadebe. I am also a journalism student, final year.
Thank you very much, Emily, Amahle, and Musa. Thanks very much for joining me. So my question to you is, what has your experience been so far, just generally, broadly?
Personally, I've experienced a lot of growth. I came into journalism not knowing that it was a lot of practical work and a lot of interaction with people. I came into journalism just thinking, I'm just there to write, and just work behind the computer, only to find out that we were expected to sort of interact with people, engage with people. That's how you get your information. Majority of the time, you are expected to come out of your comfort zone and sort of be able to articulate yourself and to be able to speak. And I think for me, that gave me a lot of growth, because prior to studying journalism, I couldn't even speak to the person next to me. Mm-hmm. So through journalism, through the assignments that we were given to sort of approach people as our sources, to approach people to get information, I was able to interact with the person, to speak in front of a crowd, or speak in front of a room full of people without being scared, without any fear or any limits. And it's something that I'm really, really grateful for, honestly, and it's something that we all should have as journalists.
Great. And that seems to be a very wide-ranging kind of experience. And Musa, what about you?
Well, I should start by saying I am living my dream, sort of. I'm going towards living my dream. I guess this is the journey that is taking me there to my dream. Because in high school, you are mandated to have 3 top choices when you're applying for university. And I had 3 top choices in the first choice. By saying that, I mean I wanted to be a doctor, psychologist, or journalist, and none of them would have been a loss for me if I wouldn't. So being in journalism was a very, very, very major win for me. In that, I like to document things. I like to take pictures in the moment, take videos in the moment. It was an annoying thing in high school. People would say, "Musa, why are you always doing this? Why are you taking pictures of us?" And I tend to bring them out after a few years and say, "Remember this?" So this feels like home. And it has been polishing that side of me, the journalistic side of me, the side of me that wants to tell stories and, share with the world and help people gain insight and knowledge into things that they thought they would never really know at some point. So I've been learning and growing, and unfortunately hindrances in the way, as life tends to be that way. But then this is home, and I would not recommend people to change from journalism just because now the pay sometimes is a little when you're working and things like that. It's always about the passion of the person doing the discipline. If you're passionate about journalism enough, you can go very far, can make insurmountable amounts of money, but it's not really about that. It's about your passion to tell stories, and I see that in myself. I see myself growing in that. I see myself growing in that I can now correct people and say, this is the 4th pillar of democracy, don't look down on it. So yeah, that is my experience thus far, and I'm willing to grow from here.
That's an amazing experience for somebody who is still in school and of course about to leave school, and to be saying things like this. There's hope, for the future, because essentially people have lost the essence of the profession of journalism. And to hear you guys talk like this is really an inspiration to some of us who are also part of your life and ensuring that we see the fruits. Amahle, your thoughts?
Yo, it's hard because what to say that hasn't been said. But my experience has been a good one, I must say. I have lived up to things that I don't think I would have done if I was studying into another profession. Journalism has helped me become more outspoken. It has given me hope in things that I didn't see. I'm able to interact with people. The love of journalism has helped me as a person, I must say, because I'm more informed with news. So journalism is a very good profession that I think even if you're not studying towards being a journalist, you should have the basic skills, because with journalism you could go far. It has made me fall in love with the camera. I now love documenting things. I've collaborated with a lot of people doing honors and so on, but it has given me that skill that I didn't think I would have gained with journalism, or the perspective that I had with journalism. I thought it was just getting published, having your byline there, but then there's more to it. There's multimedia, there's all of these things that need to be explored in journalism, and that is my experience.
That's amazing. And I got the sense from what Musa said, his submission, that journalism was part of his bigger picture of things. What about you, Emihle? What pushed you to come and study journalism?
Okay, well, fun story is that when I applied for journalism, I knew nothing about journalism. I didn't even know what it meant. But what I had an idea of was that it had something to do with writing, and that's what I'm really passionate about. So prior to applying for journalism, I had applied to become either a teacher or to study creative writing, and that didn't work out, unfortunately. And then I decided to apply for journalism with the hopes that I'd just be taken. I didn't do thorough research as to what it is exactly before applying, but once I was accepted, I then went and did my research and found out that, oh, actually it's part of, news reporting. Yes, there is writing in it, but it's basically being an informer of information. So yeah, I don't think I can say I am disappointed. I'm actually really happy and really, really grateful, because as much as, yes, I said mine was to become a writer, nothing but writing, but journalism has opened my mind to camera work. It's very versatile. You're not only limited to just what we know as the lay person, as news reporting or politics or whatever. There's also a feature that is included. There is multimedia, like she said, there's digital media, digital journalism, as we are, constantly evolving as globally. So I think it's very versatile if you look at it and not box yourself into just, what we are exposed to, which is just, the news and politics and crime and investigation. It's very versatile, it's very broad, and like Musa said, you can go really, really far with the journalism degree.
Also, Ama, did you always want to study journalism? What's the story behind you being here?
Yo, I have never in my life saw myself as a journalist. But then when I went into this profession, I'm always told that we always saw it in you. I have elders saying to me, because I used to stand in front of the TV whenever news were playing or anything. I would be like, "Hi everybody, my name is Amahle Luthando," and then I would recite whatever the presenter was saying. So me being here, I feel like it was something that was meant to be, but then it wasn't in my thoughts. It wasn't something that I wanted to be, because I wanted to be a lawyer. I've always loved justice. I've always loved being a person who's able to stand for others, and I feel like it's not a wrong choice, me being in journalism, because I'm not lost to where my dream was or diverted into. So even though it wasn't in thoughts or wasn't something that I had in mind, it had turned out to be a great thing.
That's interesting. And it's so interesting that, and from what you've been saying, there are various skills that you acquire in journalism that you can apply in various areas of life. And I'll get to a point where I ask you a question about some of the skills you think are applicable in other areas of life that you think maybe one day it would actually be very useful to you. But Musa, I just want to find out from you. Journalism was part of the picture. And I just want to know from you, what were some of the misconceptions you had about journalism that after studying journalism, that if you hadn't had the education, it would have probably still stayed with you?
Misconceptions. I'd have to dig deep in the archive that is my brain to find those, because I think immediately when I saw that I want journalism, I just went deep into researching about it and the interest in news and whatnot. Maybe I would say the misconception I have is that a person just does what they want in terms of telling a story. You don't have to go through an editor and whatnot and all those bureaucratic processes that are within the newsroom. I just thought you just take a camera, you go outside and you say, what are your thoughts about so and so and so and so? That, I think that is the number one misconception I have. And sometimes you do that because, there are freelancers out there and people who don't need permission to go chase a story, which is okay. But then I don't think because I knew since grade 6. I was writing a test in grade 6, and the way my teacher described how I told in the essay, how I told whatever I told, he said it was journalistic, and the passion sparked immediately in me, and I was like, maybe I could veer off medicine and say, let me do journalism. Then it grew inside me. It grew. As it grew, I started just digging deep and finding out what journalism. Of course, you come into university, you learn that there's now drama into journalism. It's incorporated because it needs multiple skills from other disciplines. If you know business, you can go into business journalism or economic journalism. If you know data journalism. So those were things I learned as I grew into, loving the profession. But then I was open-minded about it. I was willing to learn. I had never had any preconceived thought and said, okay, let me close it right there. It's just that people will go out.
Musa says it's not misconception. Maybe it's not misconception. It's maybe what you thought it was, but there was something more.
Yes.
What about Amakle and Emikle? When you decided to do journalism, you applied, you got the acceptance letter and everything, and you began to conceptualize what probably you are going to be doing as a journalism student. What are some of the things that you thought should be that probably isn't? Any of you can take that question.
Okay, Emile. Soon after I got the acceptance letter and I researched, the first thing I saw was that you needed to be a news anchor, and I was just like terrified as to, oh my gosh, I cannot speak to save my life. I'm just, so camera shy and whatnot. But the reality is you aren't always, limited to just, being in front of the camera. There's so much that it is that you can do. You can even be the one to write the script of the news production. Yes, you can work behind the scenes, behind the camera, work in production, work in broadcast. So I think for me, that's the only thing that I feared, but realized actually, I'm not only limited. Yes, I'm not only limited to being a news anchor or to being in front of the camera. How about you, Amakle?
I would say I thought that journalists run for stories because this thing of there's a story happening in a township or wherever, you're running with a camera and you saying hello, what's your opinion? So I thought it was only about that. I didn't know that there was the behind the scene. I didn't know that there was the production part, there was the scripting part, there was the planning, the directing of a story, how things are going to be you as a producer or of the story and editor. So me experiencing that gave me hope and enthusiasm, like of having that thing in me and saying that I actually love this.
Yes. And of course, sometimes you would probably have to run anyway. Okay, so all of you will tell me one value, just one value that journalism has taught you. Value for life that you think journalism has taught you. What value do you think would be applicable going forward in future,
Honestly, for me, I think it has to be integrity, just being an honest person. We are taught a lot about ethics in journalism and, reporting truthfully and not misleading the layperson and not spreading wrongful information, and just, reporting truthfully and with accurate information. So I just think it really speaks to you as a person. It really builds you as a person. It builds your character of being someone with integrity, being someone who is truthful in anything and everything that you do, not just your work, but, whoever you surround yourself with or anything that you associate yourself with. So just I think for me it's integrity, the importance of integrity.
Musa?
Mine borders on hers as well, because they could be interchangeable. I'll say transparency. I'll say be a see-through vessel in the way you carry yourself and how you are in life. Just don't withhold things that don't need to be withheld. Be forthcoming, be open, and essentially be readable. It helps, because now you're a person that's reserved and whatnot. You land yourself in trouble, and you don't even have an alibi, and no one can say and attest on your behalf that no, he is not like that, because you were not transparent enough with the people you are around. Be transparent to the workplace, be transparent wherever you are, be just that person. Yes, have a degree of mystery, but then don't have an unnecessary degree of mystery.
Great stuff. Yeah, Amahle.
I would say it's accountability. You always need to be accountable and take responsibility of your actions. If you as a journalist went and interviewed someone and maybe you wrote wrong information, you need to take responsibility of that, because it was you who wrote whatever you wrote. You need to be responsible in whatever you do.
Thank you very much. And I just want to also find out from you, in this day and age when everybody is a journalist, citizen journalist, blogger, this and that, do you think it is important for people to study journalism?
It is.
Okay, Amahle.
It is important for anyone who wants to be a journalist to study journalism, because in this day and age we have so many citizen journalists who report misinformation, who mislead people, who are not even aware of how dangerous it is to consume the information that is fake, spreading lies, going to things like looking at the 2021 unrest. Yes, where fake information, or I must say it was misinformation, that actually led to people actually looting, because there was also a lot of dissemination of information by people using social media platforms such as WhatsApp, stating fake news. Then that was fake information which was spreading and made people frustrated in a way and ended up looting. So spreading fake information could lead to riots that could destroy the public or citizens, the interest of the public. So if people were aware at that time about the information they were spreading, we had the journalistic skills, that would have been prevented, because it could lead to propaganda.
Thank you. Musa?
Yes, I think it is important, because if you're going to participate something, I think participate having learned how to, actually contribute to that discipline. We don't go into medicine and we don't go into hospitals and start, operating on people they would never let you do that. You'd be arrested immediately. I think respect the profession enough to say, even if I take a 1-year course just to learn ethics, just to learn how to go about things. And speaking about ethics, you find people that, if maybe it's a tragic situation, a tragic scene, someone is dead, they will just take a picture and post it on their page or blog page or whatever, just the raw scene itself. That is wrong, because we don't consume content, the same way. We're not all dead inside, if I may say it like that. So other things affect us in different ways, and seeing something raw and uncensored, it could affect the next person mentally, or psychologically. So learn the profession, have it in you to say, okay, you know what, if I want to blog, let me just go and take an ethics course on journalism. Let me go and take a media law course on journalism, because you have to protect yourself and learn where the line is drawn, what I can say. Learn that in journalism we use the word allegedly. You sound like you're speculating, but you're speculating safely, right? You are guiding people in terms of what to think. You are not saying think about this, you're just throwing it in the air. You could maybe dabble and think about this and see what you come out with it. So learn is what I'm saying. Go into just citizen. Now I take my phone, I take pictures. Don't do that.
Emily, yes.
I think my colleagues have already said everything. Maybe just to add, I remember the first day of class when I was in first year. My lecturer, Mr. Ngobani, would say to us, anyone can become a journalist. Whether you have the qualification or not, but you can see the difference between a citizen journalist and someone who's actually really qualified, So just to add on to what my colleagues have said, the ethics are very important. Being ethical is really, really important. And I think this is one of the reasons why people should actually really go about and, invest in studying journalism if they have any, aspirations. The importance of ethics, and there's a lot of things that we learn, especially in first year. There's a lot of theory that we learn. Musa also mentioned how there is media law, there is media ethics, there is court reporting. You just really taught a lot of things that you wouldn't have known had you not obtained, so be it layering out a story, be it how how you structure everything. So it's just really the nitty-gritties that you gain, that you learn, that you wouldn't have known. So you don't just do things with a carefree attitude, but there's a lot of guidelines to abide to, a lot of ethics to abide to that are really, really important. They really guide you, and they make so much sense. They work hand in hand also. So I think it's really important. If you really want to be a journalist, yes, do go ahead and study.
Great. And I'm happy about all that you've been saying. It makes me so proud as a lecturer, and particularly because you have been in my class, in the past, 2 years or so, So it is so good to know that my students are taking all the things that we have been teaching. All right. But I just want to add that, and I'm happy you mentioned the ethics. You talked about the theory. Why do you even take certain shots? When you even want to cover, let's say, a scene that is quite sensitive. If you have the ethics, if you have the understanding of how camera works and the various shots and the rationale behind the various shots that you take, you know what kind of shot you need to take when it comes to sensitive issues or sensitive scenes and all of those things. So I'm so happy that you are talking about some of these things, And it's also very important to even know the history of journalism, to know why do we even have to do journalism, and all of those, that's information is very, very important. It's core. I know that a lot of people think that they just need the skills, but the knowledge about why we do the things we do is also very, very important. So I'm so happy about that. This will be my last question. If you had an advice for somebody who wanted to study journalism, what would be that advice that you give them? Where should I start from? Musa?
I would say go get it. Go, because you will never find, you will, other people say you will, but then because I'm here, I'm going to say you will never find a more rewarding profession. The people we get to be amongst, the fact that you are going to be hyped up seeing the president, and I'm going to say, as my colleague, I saw him in work last week. That's how rewarding this profession is. You are important. You are that important that people that society say you cannot touch, you touch, right? Go for it. And start as early as you can. Start reading. Start playing with the camera on your phone. Know what an ISO is. Know what an aperture is. Play with that portrait mode on your phone. Play with the recording device. Speak alone. In fact, I'd say speak in the shower. Pretend you're a pilot. Just be invested in the profession before you get to the profession. That helps you grow, and that helps eliminate the boredom or any thoughts that, okay, this is too tedious, I should not do it. Because yes, journalism is fun most of the time, but it is also a lot of work. There's writing, there's scripting, there's dramatization in your head when scenes cannot be overlaid and whatnot. They need to be dramatized. Like, you need to go back and rethink that scene and act it out, ask people to act. So those are things that you need to consider and say, you know what, let me just go into this with passion, not with the thought that I want to feed myself and whatnot and whatnot. That will come from the passion, because if you're passionate, you're going to be a name that is going to be remembered. People are going to say, oh, Musa actually loves editing. Like Emihle loves editing. Emihle says she loves working behind the scenes. So I'm going to remember, if I have a company right now, I'm going to remember that there's actually someone who likes doing this. If I think it's too tedious to do, I'm going to say, come in, do this. Maybe she'll grow from there and start her own thing. So with journalism, the world becomes your oyster. You know, you can go into the Ministry of Police because you're well informed about the Ministry of Police. You can go into the presidency because you're well informed about that. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Emihle. Yes. What should they expect? What advice would you have for them? Maybe what they should expect as well?
You should expect lots of work. You should expect a lot of workload, but then you should be up for it. You should be a person who's up for a challenge. You should work into achieving your goal and doing it. And then you being in journalism, if you're a person who likes helping the community, who likes being there, and who likes honesty, integrity, and justice, then you could be a watchdog for the community. You could be the one serving news that are mostly things that are happening in your community that are mostly not reported by the mainstream media. You could be the one to start and be the change for it. So journalism is the way to go.
Emihle, yes.
I think for me, I would say just be ready to be outside of your comfort zone. And when you're outside of your comfort zone, there comes about growth, and so the more you grow, the better, and the more you invest in yourself. So not only are you investing in yourself as a journalist, but you're also investing in your audience as well, people that consume whatever it is that you produce. So you're also thinking, you're not only thinking about yourself, but you're thinking about your audience. And whatever it is that your audience receives, consumes from you, you are basically changing the narrative around the kind of journalists that we have, you know. So you are raising the banner of a good reporter, of a journalist that is truthful, a journalist with no bias and whatnot. So just be ready to come out of your comfort zone. My colleagues did say that there's a lot of work that goes into it. Indeed, there is a lot of work that goes into it. You are challenged 100% of the time. You are always challenged. But that is how you grow, that is how you learn, and that is how you sort of open your mind and are permitted to sort of think outside of the box, you know, and be creative. So it's really, really, really rewarding to have that experience, and really rewarding to know that whatever it is that you are producing, your audience will receive. And it also not only broadens your mind, but broadens their mind as well. So it's really rewarding. It's a really rewarding profession. Yeah, it's really great.
Thanks very much. I totally enjoyed the conversation, and I hope that we can meet again to have another interesting conversation. And I believe that my audiences, or our audiences, have also enjoyed this particular conversation. One or two things that you talk about, and I think you allude to, one of them is being a journalist is not a celebrity. You are not a celebrity. You are not there to be famous. It is the impact that you want. And for that reason, passion should be the core of journalism. You are not there to make money. Yes, we need to survive. We need to have money to make ends meet and all of that. But it is very important that the core of everything that we do is for the public good. Public good is journalism, and passion is journalism. And the results, we will see a different world, a transformed society, and that is the ultimate that we all want. And so thanks very much, Musa, Emihle, and Amahle for joining me for this beautiful conversation, and hope we can meet again to have another conversation. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye everyone.
Thank you everyone for listening. Please don't forget to like.
Please don't forget to subscribe.
Please don't forget to comment.
And do whatever you want with this podcast. The name is Insights Across the Disciplines Podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.